Welcome to Occidental Oriental. My name is Making Sang, first name May King.
My name is Gordon Fong, first name Gordon.
And today, Gordon, what are we going to be talking about?
um, Finding your peer groups, your networks, and which ones we've used and how they've benefited ourselves.
Yeah, I love this topic because I think in the previous episode we did talk about going to lots of networking groups and then finding the right one that suited us. So, Gordon, do you want to talk about how you got found your tribe, found the support groups?
I guess there's kind of two parts to that question. The first one was a business peer group that I used to belong to, called Fast Growth, and I think that's changed to something called peer-to-peer, peer-to-peer in Bournemouth and Dorset. But actually, they're spreading out wide. So within that peer group, it's business owners, business leaders, or senior managers come to separate groups where they follow a series of workbooks taking on different kind of aspects of running a business. Because when we start a business, whether it's a small or larger one, normally nobody trains you to be the managing director. Nobody trains you to be the boss. In most cases, you kind of fall into that situation, whether you've had a good idea and you want to start a business, or whether you've been brought in from the outside. And I guess the people who do MBAs, they're not doing MBAs just to start a small business. I don't think. Maybe they have a different kind of trajectory. So in most cases, nobody teaches you how to be a business owner. And being a business owner is not just about selling that particular product and service. It's all about the structures, the people, the teams, and every aspect from marketing to finance to even prepping your business for a future sale. And sometimes people think you need to have that in mind that when you start the business is how you want to exit the business. So business support groups like peer-to-peer and there's one called Evolve around here as well. They kind of have these workbooks where they talk about, what's your best, how do you market your best product, or, tackling an aspect of finance or exiting or processes. And you kind of work through the workbook. You ask questions of each other. You kind of learn from each other. And I think for me, the biggest thing I got out of that group was to be in the presence of other people. Because before I would think, oh, why is, running a business is hard. It, it just is. It just is. And then you see all these other people doing really well, maybe it's on social media and in the press, and you think, oh, they're doing really well, they're growing, etc. But then once you get into the room and you have this kind of open discussion and trust, you then get to see actually, yeah, they're three times, four times bigger than uh, ourselves, but yeah, they've got three times, four times the problems. And then you kind of go, okay, it's not just me then. And that takes a lot of pressure off because you think, I should be doing better. Why am I not doing like as well as these people? So I think being in the presence of other business owners, and actually when you're open and honest with each other, you think, okay, you've got the same problems, and how did you deal with that? And I think that's the kind of value in that was the main value for me, just to be in the presence of other people. Just a bit of inspiration, a bit of you know, um, answering questions and just finding out actually it's hard for everyone. And actually, the more we can help each other and be supportive, the better.
Yeah, you've raised a really good point there, Gordon, because I think that it takes a while to find your tribe. It takes a while to find the people that you can truly that you can support and can be supported by. Um, I had the opportunity to start my business in London. Then I relocated to Australia, lived there for 6 years, then moved back to the UK. Had to, go through the process again when I lived in Sheffield. Um, and I use the same process each time. So the first time when I started my business, I gave a shout out to Katrina, my friend who was running a business, had run her marketing business a few months before I was made redundant from my corporate job. So she took me by the hand and helped me to go networking. And that was when I started looking at chambers of commerce, BNI, other localized networking groups. Did the same thing in Australia. Did the same thing in Sheffield as well. And eventually, when I go to these networking events, you might find one or two people that you talk to. When you invest in yourself in your business, as the sales start coming in, then you invest in yourself by potentially go to conferences, networking events online that you pay for, um, business festivals, summits, that kind of thing. And then that's when I started to meet other people and meet people that I could talk to there as well. And you raised a good point, Gordon, because for many years, I've been faffing around for 15 years,
Me too.
but I always felt like I I didn't have enough to offer other people, so I'd listen intently to others and thank them for their support and stuff. Um, and I'd ask questions and I'd give them my knowledge of what I've picked up in social media. I've been in the social media space for a long time, but I always felt inadequate. So, when someone who's been in business and been way more successful than I have, emotionally, financially, I always felt inadequate. And so when I offered advice and they'd take it in, I'm really surprised that I'm able to teach people who've been in business for 20, 30 years. So I think that's one of my biggest takeaways, being in business for 15 years, that someone who is just starting can definitely give advice to people who've been seasoned business owners for years, because business has evolved, business has changed.
Yeah.
And if there are businesses out there that have been running for 20 years and still don't know what this social media thing is all about, then they need to talk to people who have been in this social media space for a long time. And AI is the next thing that people are really worried about. So we need to talk to people who have really, are learning at the moment, or have been really, talking about and learning about AI for 2 years, or even longer for some people, and we can all learn from each other.
Yeah.
Being in business, we need to support each other and help each other out. But we must put our egos at the door, park them away, because we can all learn from somebody. It doesn't matter how long you've been in business. I've learned amazing things from people who are, doing the side hustle, who are
Right.
working in an incredible career and doing a business on the side. I've learned from all manners of people. So going to networking events, finding the people that you can trust is really important. Going to conferences and meeting people. And I remember, um actually, in my personal life, when I was 16, I met a young man, and he was in his 30s. He was friends of my parents, and he said friends will come and go. And I was really offended by that
Right.
remark, because I thought, oh no, I want to keep my friends forever. But he's absolutely right, and especially in the business space as well, there will be people who support you for a certain length of time, and for whatever reason they sort of come into your life, they go out of your life, and it's okay to let them go, because other people you will attract will support you in many other ways as well. So yeah, I'm rambling on here. I
I
better
think
shut
one of
up now,
the
Gordon.
no, no, it's a great point meeting other people, because in business it can feel isolating, and I think the more
Yes,
isolated you are, the
yes.
phrase imposter syndrome, where you think, oh, I'm not
Oh,
worthy, or should I be in the same room with these people? I think it's
yes,
important to get out there and mix, and you will find people are just people
yes,
that, like you, that face the same issues,
yes,
and this
yes,
the feeling of imposter syndrome. I think it's a transient. Yes, we get imposter syndrome. You go, oh wow, look at them, they're really big and they're growing, and they're creative director. I'm just, I don't know that much. But actually, when you're with people, you kind of find, actually, you probably know more than what you give yourself credit for. And then some
absolutely,
people maybe have this veneer of actually, doing well, or we are all at different stages. So I don't think we should ever beat ourselves up over imposter syndrome, but just recognize that it's a
absolutely.
transient. phase that you
Yes.
go through. Because actually, when you go further up, you'll get imposter syndrome at that level. But then you'll go, I deserve to be here. And then you go up and up and up. So
Yes.
I think understand
Absolutely.
the feeling that we all go through, but it's transient. And you go, actually,
Yeah.
that means I'm doing okay. That means I'm moving
Yeah.
to the next level.
Absolutely. I invested in myself. I think it was about 3 years ago, and I went on this program, to help better my business and so on. Met some incredible people, and it was a Zoom, monthly Zoom,
Okay.
and the membership program invited a psychologist to speak.
Mm,
Tony Brooks. And he actually said, we don't have imposter syndrome, we have imposter moments.
mm,
And so I learned from his course, and I sort of created my own phrase from my learnings. And so he said, we don't have imposter syndrome, we have imposter moments.
mm,
And from his learnings, I said, okay, well, we need to reflect on that moment,
yeah.
learn from its lesson, and move forward. So whenever I hear people talk about imposter syndrome, I always say to them, well, this psychologist said to me, and even he had an imposter moment, moments before he came into the Zoom. He thought, oh my gosh, what am I doing speaking to seasoned business owners? But then
Mm,
he reflected on that moment. He realized, you know what? I'm going to help these business owners, and I'm going to help them move forward.
mm,
And suddenly it calmed him down. And it was great that he was able to share that, because then, the next time that I hear people talk about imposter syndrome, I'll say, oh, actually, I heard from Tony Brooks. He said, no, we have imposter moments. Reflect on that moment, learn from its lesson, and move forward. And it's been really, really great for me to remember that. And so I
mm.
tell that to anybody who's in business, because I think it's a great, great lesson.
Absolutely. And I think you brought up about conferences and events. So the peer groups I belong to or have belonged to were all about learning, learning with other people. It was quite a set format. But I think going to events is different, and we should also go to events as well that we kind of gel to, or it finds that we find it's a good match for. Well, don't want to get too woo-woo, but for our kind of energy, our approach to life, it's kind of not too staid or not too kind of wacky or whatever, find a particular one. And for me, it all started off with the You Are the Media lunch clubs, or the You Are the Media community group, which started off down here in Bournemouth and Poole. And I used to go to their first events, and I used to just sit literally at the back of the room, because after 15 years of being a managing director of a a digital business within Bournemouth, people were, well, we've never heard of you. We've never seen you, because it's quite a big digital economy down here. And I used to think, I've just turned up and people are going to ask me questions and I just don't know the answers. And I always had this thing, oh, I need to know so much about sales. I need to have known so much about, you know, marketing and all these kind of things. So I had that kind of imposter syndrome for a while, sitting at the back, because I used to think, oh, they're the creative manager or director of such and such an agency, or they're the kind of sales director, and what kind of conversation am I going to have with them? But over time, you kind of find out we're all in the same boat. We're all working hard, trying to do the same kind of things, and actually I'm learning, and that's the whole point of turning up. You have to have some kind of value. But actually, I got on really well with them. It wasn't a case of they're in a digital agency, we're a digital, all this kind of competition thing. We need to get over that and just think, actually, if we work together, or at least be seen together, that makes the sector stronger. That can only help your your business if the sector here is stronger, because then you can attract people down, because they think, actually, if I get a job with one company, there's plenty of other businesses within that sector that I can go to. So hopefully it just makes it stronger if we step over this kind of competition fear. So
Yeah,
within the other media,
yeah,
I guess it's started off as a learning community. We'd have guest speakers talking about, say, AI, LinkedIn, and so on, and then we learn, the kind of ins and outs and the nuances of using that product. And then, but over time, it became a much more of a fun thing. There'd be like a world record attempt and just silly games. And actually, what I've seen now is people are just desperate to get away from the desk and meet other people. We just
yeah.
need that after COVID. I know it's a phrase, since COVID, but actually, I can tell people just want to be out. and just spend the afternoon with people because we have to.
Yeah, I think I think what's great about you, Gordon, is that you are really consistent as well.
Yeah.
So, in I think it was in episode one, we talked about how we met and we sort of met
Mm,
online on Twitter. You knew, you'd seen me and I'd seen you, and we were thinking, oh my God, they're Chinese too, and they're doing business. It's so great, and that's how we connected. And you're consistent because you always despite you sitting at the back of the room, you were always present on social media. You would always talk about and give credit to the speakers, credit to Mark Masters from the You Are the Media. You would tag people that
mm,
you'd met and so on, and you developed these relationships and built those relationships over time. And so now people do know who you are when you're walking down the street.
mm.
People are like, are you going wrong? I mean, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
But that consistency of sharing and helping other people without any expectation of
Mm,
getting that help in return, because that help will come back to you in other ways, not necessarily from the person that you've helped. And that's really, really important to remember in business, because we've talked about the Chinese and Western way of doing business in a previous episode, and that's what I've recognized in that there is a lot of people who do transactional relationship building, like I give you something, so therefore you need to give me something. And that's not how it works. It's about the universe, it's about giving help without any expectation of anything in return. And that help will come back to you. Not to expect it immediately, because can come back to you within a week, it can come back to you in months, it can come back to you in years. You never know. And the people who really stick it out and really understand, going to networking events, giving help where possible, supporting other people. People will remember you because you are a helpful and supportive person. And if you are clear about who you are and what you do online, then that help will come back to you via your business at some point in the future. So, but it's finding those people as well.
mm.
Because I know, Gordon, I'm sure you can share a gazillion stories of how you've helped people and they fleeced you emotionally or financially.
Yeah.
We've all got those horror stories, haven't we?
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's one of those things where you don't have to be an extrovert. You don't have to kind of change persona to walk
No,
through that door at an
that's
event
right.
and suddenly be
Yeah.
trying to capture people's attention.
Yes.
Now, some people
Yes.
maybe naturally more inclined to do that, but I think I like to think I'm a good case study in building that kind of presence by stealth, by being the quiet one who's
Yes.
consistent. You mentioned the word consistency, by just being there,
Yes.
but also being supportive. And I think people pick up on that you're always there.
Mm.
You're not the loudest one, but actually you're ever present and ever supporting. So I think another way that works, and we are,
Mm-hmm.
fine examples of that. And for other people think, oh, I don't need to do oh, I don't want to do social media. I don't want to shout about myself. I don't want to do this, that, and the other. There are other ways, and we've kind of
Yeah.
proven it.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Um, and yeah, we've tackled this before. I go through a sliding scale. Sometimes I will have my extrovert moments at a networking event. So I will find the wallflower who's looking at their phone, who are really shy and they're nervous. And I'll purposely go over to talk to them because
Mm,
9 times out of 10, they're probably the most interesting person in the room anyway. But when I have my introvert moments, I'm the one who's looking at my phone and hoping that someone will, come and talk to me. And I'm also short. I'm 5'3", so I wear a sparkly hat, a sparkly
mm,
beret,
yeah.
um, just so that I can stand out, really. But then when I get into a conversation, my laugh gives me away. So, I mean, my upbringing, same as you, Gordon. My parents will often say to me, "Don't laugh like that." You'll draw attention to yourself. So when I'm in the presence of my parents, I don't laugh like that.
Mm,
But when I'm in, my business situation, and if I'm really enjoying myself, I will laugh like that because
mm,
that's part of my personality, part of my, the way that I do business now is, a lovely blend of my British upbringing and my Chinese upbringing. So it's sort of it comes out in various ways like that. So, if you go into an event or a support group, go with the mind of who am I going to help today?
mm.
Who can I, and even just talking and listening can really, really help. There were two occasions actually that I spoke to a person and just had a conversation with them. And then a few weeks later, so one was in Sheffield and the other one was in Brisbane. And a few weeks later, they called me up and they actually said to me, I was having a really bad day that day.
Mm.
And when you talked to me, you really made a difference. And that nearly made me cry because on both occasions, they were pushing themselves to go into that networking
Right.
situation, but they were really struggling, really, I mean,
Mm,
really struggling. So the fact that, I mean, I didn't know this at the time, I didn't know that they were struggling, but I just went over, and said hello and so on. But it actually saved them. It jolted them from their
mm.
situation at that time, and so that was incredible. The fact that they were
Yeah.
brave enough to actually come out in the first place was
Mm,
incredible. But the fact that they were able to, really push themselves to get into a conversation, and I just happened to be there. I don't know what it was, some kind of divine intervention or something. I don't
yeah.
know. Uh, but you know, that really, really, I go, I often think about those two people from time to time,
Yeah.
and one of them I'm still in touch with. The other one in Brisbane, I kind of lost in touch with, but she's doing amazingly, which is great. So yeah, we're all in the same boat.
No, absolutely.
We're
Yeah.
all in business together. We're all trying to figure our way out. We're all trying to learn. We're all trying to help. Um, you will come across those people in trying to sell you something, or they're trying to manipulate you, and like I say, I'm a bit too trusting sometimes,
Mm,
and so I've been ripped off emotionally and financially, and you will always meet those kind of people in business, but you know you will always meet some incredible people as
yeah.
well.
So I think it's important, like you said, if when we go to events, we've been there before, been that kind of, oh, what do I do? Who do I talk to? And if we
Yeah.
see somebody else, and you can tell that they're nervous when they're coming through the door, I think we should be the ones that step forward and try to make that conversation, trying to bring them
Yes.
in. Because I would have loved it if more people did that for us. So if you're going to be
Yeah.
part of a group, I think that's how we support that group. But also within the group, there's probably one or two people that if you didn't connect at the event, but if you try and post or reply to you know the posts that people do afterwards, it may be there's somebody there that you would get on with like a house on fire, but you just did not, your path just didn't cross. So if you can
Yeah.
kind of get back into the post-event FOMO, as you mentioned the other day, try and just make a post and try to share who you are, what you do, what your interests are. Maybe you'll
Absolutely.
connect to somebody else who has similar kind of interests, and actually, and you'll create a bond for life. Because I think sometimes you have to make your own serendipity to meet those people that you meet
Yes.
to in life. Yeah.
Absolutely. Now, the title of this podcast is Occidental Oriental. We've
Mm,
talked about finding our tribe in the business world, but Gordon, I know you wanted to touch upon
mm.
finding people who look like us. So
Yeah,
I don't know if we've got a few more minutes to delve
yeah.
into that.
I think what's been fascinating for me over the last couple of years using platform, it's more Instagram really, just seeing the number of young 20-something-year-old British-born Chinese or kind of Far East Asians taking to social media, talking about their own challenges, but actually just smashing it with content, whether it's food content or kind of identity kind of content. and I've just been blown away and super um, impressed at their approach and the energy that they bring. You know, there are young people. I think the Banana Podcast. I think and even older people like Donny Wong and so on. People who just have no fear jumping on the camera. Whilst when we did the first few podcasts, I was still having that kind of doing a podcast. I'm kind of laying bare my soul. Should I be doing this? And it feels awkward. But you know, when I did my first few YouTube videos and stuff, it felt that way. But you'll never get better unless you do more and more. So I kind of take inspiration from those people doing that kind of content, and hopefully maybe a future episode we can invite them on, or we jump on theirs. But it's just I just want to understand better their mindset, where they got that bravery from. Is it a generational thing? Do they think actually we have a voice now? Let's make use of it because it took me a while. It definitely took me a while. I'm 58 now, and it took me such a long time to find my voice, and they seem to have found it very, very quickly.
That's incredible. It's definitely a generational thing, and I mean, I can't believe you're 58, Gordon. Well, obviously you've got the Chinese genes, so you look amazing.
Well, if I
And
had some hair,
of
it would be
course,
better. Actually, you just had your hair all cut off. You could have just given it to me, and I could have had some braid or a weave or whatever.
amazing. But yeah, definitely a generational thing. And yeah, I look to a lot of the Instagrammers as well, who look like us and learn from, BBCs. I learn from, people who are Vietnamese, a lot of Asian Americans as well, Koreans. It is incredible. And yeah, I mean, they grew up with digital, didn't they? You know,
Yeah.
digital came to us in, the early 2000s and I know you've been in business a long time, but having that confidence and having no fear, um,
Mm.
you must have had you must have had that in your 20s, Gordon, when you were in your 20s, you had no fear, you thought you were right, and everybody else was wrong.
No, no, my fear was growing up in a very strong anti-immigration 1980s and 90s, really. So I really had
Yeah,
fear. I really had
yeah.
fear.
Oh, right. Okay.
And that's why
Yeah.
it took me so long to come out, come out.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah. No, that's interesting. Yeah, I mean, I did have a bit of fear, same as you in the 80s and 90s. Um, and I suppose that I wasn't in business then. I was just, heads down, studying
mm,
really, really hard because our parents wanted us to get an English job and an English
yeah,
career. So, we were working in the chippy, and then, finish our homework, then go back and finish working the chippy, 6 days a week, and rest day on a Tuesday for
yeah,
us. Um, and yeah, go on to college and university. But I had in the chippy, I was definitely very scared because that's where we faced a bit of racism. But when I was at college and university, I didn't face anything. Actually,
oh,
I was very very lucky. So in the yeah early sorry in the 90s, late 90s, I just really loved college and university. I didn't see myself as any different. When I worked in the bars, I had to work in order to get some money because well, didn't have any money, so I studied at university and also had two part-time jobs as well. So I worked in bars. So that's when I faced a little bit of racism in the bars that I worked at. But at uni and college, I was okay. So yeah, so I think in the 80s, I definitely was fearful. But when I went to college and uni, for me
okay,
anyway, it was a different experience. I loved it. So
yeah.
you didn't have a great experience at uni, did you? Were you in
No,
fear?
uni was fine. I just didn't work. I should have worked a lot harder. I came out with a pass degree, so it was a bit upsetting for me in the sense that I couldn't take my parents to my graduation because I didn't go. And it took me a couple of years
Oh.
to get my masters, and then they finally came. But yeah, for me, it was just a strange time. But it was my fault. I didn't put the effort in. I just really didn't put the effort in because I got straight A's in mathematics at O level, AO level, A level, and I thought, oh, I'm going to ace mathematics at a university level. So hard, and I just found it so boring. So I didn't put the effort in, messed up. It kind of held me back in life. But actually, the fact that this happened, that happened, I still met my wife, and yeah, I wouldn't change any of it whatsoever. I wouldn't change
Yeah.
any of it. But I think
Oh.
that's probably a time to close off this particular podcast. And I think the key point was to try and find your peer group, try and find your network that actually supports you, that gives you a vehicle that you can support others, and then you can actually grow in your own confidence. I think it's important to find the one. You might have to kiss a few frogs first, but I think there'll be a group out there. There'll be a group out there for you.
Absolutely. Until the next time, we'll see you then.
Yeah, so this has been the Occidental Oriental podcast. My name's Gordon Fong, first name Gordon.
And my name's Making Sang, first name Making.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.